A warm welcome to Anuradha Vedic Astrology. Today, let's talk about a very practical aspect of life. Sometimes when we want to give our life a direction, but life doesn't really go in that way. Why does it happen? It's because the Dashas predict life to move in a certain manner. But which manner, which chart of the divisional charts will take importance? That's the question that one can have. Because you cannot see everything from the D1. The divisional charts will indicate which area of life will a person move into and which area of life will take precedence. It may so happen that I may want to move up in my work, but the area of life that is going to take precedence for the moment could be my education. So I need to look into my D24 chart instead of the D10, or rather synchronize my D10 with my D24 to see how that will give me great results. All this and also much more coming up, so stay tuned for practical examples till the end. Before we begin this, a big thanks to all of you for liking, sharing and subscribing to our YouTube and Spotify channels and writing in your comments and suggestions there. If you haven't subscribed to us, please do, and do remember to press the bell icon so that you can get the updates ASAP. It so happened that I got a case study for a person who said that, a year ago I started learning, and this year I have been a little disappointed because I gave a number of exams, or I gave a number of interviews which took me to the best of the jobs, and they all went right up to the last level, and there they failed, or it did not materialize for me. So that got me thinking as to why, and then I asked the person that if you would have got this job, would you be able to study? The person said that it would have been difficult. I could make it, but it would have been really difficult. Now that got me thinking. Why? Because here two different charts are involved, the D10 and the D24. I had to look into the Dasha that there was, and I had to see which chart was taking more importance, because as I told you, the different divisional charts and different divisional charts, the planets will be differently placed. And that placement or those placements will define which chart will get prominence during a Dasha period. For example, in this given chart, when I look into the D24, because D24, the Siddhamsa is all about education. When I look into the Siddhamsa, the running Dasha for the person was Venus, and we know, and Venus had just started. So we know that when Venus just starts, it carries on for a couple of years and more. So Venus is very well placed. Why is it well placed? Because it's sitting in the Lagna, in its own house, thus creating Malavya Yoga. And it's sitting in the sign of Taurus, which is a hardcore education as well as practical sign of commerce also. So the person was actually doing executive MBA. So there, as you would make out, now what happens is this person is also, so this Venus is becoming very important and will take precedence over the D10 chart. Why over the D10 chart? Is because in the D10 chart, Venus is debilitated. Not only that, it is debilitated in the 6th house, so it will have Vipreet Raj Yoga. For more on Vipreet Raj Yoga, you should see an elaborate video which I have made on the same subject. But when we talk about Venus in Vipreet Raj Yoga here, just in short I can tell you that since it's also in the 6th from the Lagna and the 12th from its own house, which is a house of high platform, high recognition in society, the person will have to undergo a failure somewhere or the other. And the person will also have to probably scale up their abilities, being Venus that it is, and then all of a sudden things will fall on a person's lap. Here, so I found out that if the person scales up his learnings as said by Venus, in the D24, the person will do great in his job also, because that would have scaled up his learnings, and his value also would increase, and all of a sudden by the end of the Venus Antardasha, he would have got a great job on his plate. So this is something that we need to understand, that any planet is capable of giving good results in one divisional chart, whereas its results may not be very promising in another divisional chart. We must not lose hope, because since they are interconnected, one way will lead us to the next and enhancing the chart in the next. But the fact is that you need to pinpoint which is the important chart operating for you in that period to be able to maximize the utility of that chart. Let's move on to the second concept. When you move on to the second concept here, again, sometimes what happens is that a person, you and I can want to have a house. Everybody, this is a very common question, that when will I have my house? And we always want to secure at least, because that's one of the major forms of security. So there's a person who goes in and books a big house for themselves. Now, does your D4 show a big house? Because the D4, in the D4 we find that here the 4th house is ruled by Saturn. Saturn aspects it, but it aspects it with Ketu, Sun and Mercury. Okay. So what happens is, the person may not get a new house because Ketu is also involved, so a small house would be there. Now this person has booked a big house and a new house. The 7th lord is Venus and it is debilitated. So that also with Venus times, it is not, because actually here the operating period was Mercury Venus. So Venus being debilitated, that Venus also did not allow a very big house to be there in the person's, at least in this times, in the person's destiny for this period of time. And because Mercury is also the 8th lord, it is also not very conducive to buy a property in this period. It could lead to certain cases or some problems or the other. So now the person is paying EMI. How is the person going to be stopped? If I lose my job, I will not be able to pay my EMI. It so happened with the person. When you look at the D10 of the person, Venus is sitting in the Lagna of the D10 along with Ketu, and that Venus is also the 12th lord. And there is exchange again between Mercury and Venus. So it is Mercury and Venus during their period which is playing the entire game. Once we realize that buying a house at this time is not right, we can get away with the loss of the job. But unfortunately, it so happened that the person had the loss of a job. Once the person realized that they should not be buying it and they stopped the EMI, they found a job again. And that too from a place which was different from where they were operating. Exactly what the 12 and 1 positions of Venus and Mercury in the D10 had predicted. So there are numerous ways where we can learn to use our chart to the best of the ability and in accordance to the Dasha that there is. But for that, we will have to take care that we understand the various divisional charts and see how they operate in our life. Till we meet with you again, stay safe.
Please hit the bell icon for fresh updates. Don't forget to like, share and comment on the videos, and please subscribe to our channel.